In this video, we are talking about the golden age of Miss South Africa at Miss World. In the last video, we discussed the 70s. Yes, the year that Miss World made the bizarre decision to accommodate South Africa's apartheid regime for 7 years and allow one white woman and one non-white woman to represent South Africa at Miss World at the same time. That was crazy, but eventually Miss World came to their senses and decided to ban South Africa, similarly to how organizations, companies, and everyone was boycotting South Africa all around the world. But in the early 90s, something changed. The South African government eventually, begrudgingly, decided to leave apartheid in the past and become a true democracy where everyone has equal rights. And of course, this was the golden age of Miss South Africa at Miss World. It must have been so fun to be a South African and a fan of Miss World during this time. I can't even imagine. So after a 14-year ban starting from 1977 to 1991, in 1991, Diana Tilden-Davis was crowned Miss South Africa. Okay, fine. She might have been white, but she was still Miss South Africa, and South Africa had just gotten rid of apartheid. This was 1 year after apartheid was abolished, and Diana was representing South Africa at Miss World, and she placed as the second runner-up. 1992 is where it really gets good, because this is the year, the historic year, that South Africa crowned its very first non-white Miss South Africa. She identifies as Cape Colored from what I've heard, and her name is Amy Kleinans. She eventually got into the top 5 at Miss World. Miss World 1992 was also held at Sun City, South Africa, which is very exciting, held in South Africa for the very first time, and rightfully so. I mean, South Africa has a lot to offer. And in 1993, of course, this is even more exciting because this is where the abolishment of apartheid finally starts to show fruit when it comes to pageantry, and Jacqui Mofokeng was the very first black Miss South Africa to be crowned. Miss World 1993 was also held at Sun City, South Africa, and Jacqui actually placed as the first runner-up. She is the lesser known first black Miss South Africa. A lot of people tend to think about Miss South Africa 1994. Basetsana, Makgalemele, or Khumalo as she's now known, and she was crowned Miss South Africa 1994, and I think this is relevant because 1994 is the very first year that South Africa held its first free and fair democratic election where everyone, regardless of race, could vote. And of course, Nelson Mandela was selected as South Africa's new president. Basetsana was crowned as the first runner-up at Miss World 1994, and this year Miss World was actually held in South Africa once again for the third year in a row. 1995, Bernalee Daniell made the top 10 at Miss World. Miss World was held in South Africa yet again for the fourth year in a row. And in 1996, Peggy-Sue Khumalo was crowned Miss South Africa, and she also got into the top 10 at Miss World. Miss World this year was held in India for a change. In 1997, we had Jessica Motoung representing South Africa at Miss World, and she was actually the first runner-up at Miss South Africa 1997. The winner of Miss South Africa 1997 was the beautiful Kerishnie Naicker, and she couldn't go to Miss World due to personal reasons, so Jessica went instead, and she was crowned as the second runner-up, and she's so absolutely stunning. Oh my goodness, guys, even looking at pictures from her from nowadays, she has absolutely refused to age. In 1998, Miss South Africa actually officially gets the Miss Universe license. From this point onward, they hold both the Miss Universe and the Miss World licenses. And sometimes, some part of me wonders, is this the beginning of the end of South Africa's relationship with Miss World? In this year, of course, Kerishnie Naicker, the previous winner who couldn't go to Miss World, went, and she eventually placed in the top 5. Kerishnie Naicker is also the first Indian Miss South Africa. South Africa, of course, has a substantial Indian population, so it was only a matter of time. She was also in the top 10 at Miss Universe 1998. In 1999, Sonia Raciti was the second runner-up at Miss World. She was also in the top 5 at Miss Universe 1999. And this was actually just amazing because all of these women were Miss World Africa. Okay, so they were the top queens from Africa to compete as well. In 2000, unfortunately, something sort of changed when Heather Joy Hamilton went to Miss World. Miss World 2000 was held on the 30th November of 2000, and Eric Morley actually passed away on the 9th of November. So this is a bit sad because he passed away just a little bit, after the girls started arriving for the competition. And like I said before, I think he may have had a little soft spot for South Africa. And Heather went to Miss World. She competed at Miss World on the 30th of November and unfortunately went unplaced. And this is actually the beginning of a 7-year flop era at Miss World. And some part of me can't help but wonder, did Miss World not like the addition of the Miss Universe license in 1998? Or was it actually Eric that always had a soft spot for South Africa? I don't know. Like I said before, it must have been so much fun to be a Miss World fan during the 90s. Oh my goodness, because South Africa absolutely slayed during the 90s at Miss World. I can't actually believe that we didn't have one win, but we came so close to the crown so many times. And then after this amazing high in the 90s came this terrible kill yourself low in the early 2000s. Like I said, it was a 7-year low that followed. So in the next video, we'll be discussing that. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.